Okay, so when you think of an AI superpower, where do you think the studies might be coming from? Are they coming from Europe, North America, Africa, or Asia? Just think about your answer.
America.
Lots of people saying North America, and that is what you would think is the expected answer, but you're wrong. Yes. 68% of the studies on AI in English language teaching and learning are coming from Asia. And you can see from the map, and you'll get this in the report when you download it, that a large majority of these are coming from China. Now, just to give you a sense of how significant this is, the US, which we all maybe consider the global superpower in AI, produced 9% of the research in this period. So a huge difference in sort of the amount of research coming out. So here's the big question. How is AI being used for educational affordances in ELT? Now, in our research, we found 6 key uses or affordances of AI in ELT. You have the 4 language skills, and then you also have pedagogy and self-regulation. And I'll give you some very quick examples of each of these. If you want to read about them in more detail, you can have a look at the report. So, in speaking, AI is being used to improve pronunciation using automatic speech recognition tools. AI is also being used as a conversational partner for students to practice their speaking with chatbots and for multimodal language coaching. In writing, AI is being used to give feedback on grammar using automated grammar checkers. It's also being used as a support tool to support and scaffold second language writing using machine learning, machine translation tools. And in reading, we found less evidence for the use of AI in reading and listening than in the productive skills of speaking and writing. But we did find some evidence of AI being used to improve vocabulary using gaming, interestingly. Pedagogy is an interesting area where AI is being used, of course. One of the things we're all aware that AI could potentially support is more personalized learning, more individualized learning. There's also the question of whether pedagogy is evolving with the technology or whether still more traditional approaches like lectures and explanations, they do persist. This is what we found in our data. And the next one, self-regulation, is probably the most interesting one for me personally. And one of the reasons I find it very interesting is AI is being used and has been used to help learners set learning goals and set them more effectively, but also, very interestingly, it's being used to reduce learners' fear. We all know that our learners feel fear of speaking in public, in English, right? You feel worried. How do you get rid of that fear? So practicing with an AI-powered chatbot or tool in advance has been found to reduce learners' anxiety about speaking in public. And I think that that's a really encouraging and useful application of AI in speaking and self-regulation. And finally, we found the least evidence of the use of AI in promoting listening. There was just some studies, a couple maybe, that looked at this, that looked at using generative AI. It's still a very developing area in the research. So, how are teachers using AI? And I said that we conducted a global survey, 118 countries and territories, and 1,348 teachers responded to our survey. You can see the survey on the map, and quite a few responded from South Asia as well. You can see in the report the distribution. So here is how teachers are using AI-powered tools. If you can't see this graphic at the back, don't worry, it's there in the report, and you're going to get the report to download for free today. But the top 3 uses or AI-powered tools that teachers use are language learning apps, language generation AI, and chatbots. Importantly though, 24% of teachers also said we don't use any of these. Still, the majority are using one or more AI-powered tools. And in terms of what they're using these tools for, they're using them to create materials, to help learners practice English, and to generate lesson plans. So quite a few teachers using it for materials generation or lesson plan generation as well. What do teachers think about AI in teaching and learning? So we asked the teachers a series of questions. We presented them with a series of statements. We asked them to rate these statements. We also asked them to explain their ratings. About 1,000 teachers left responses on this part of the survey. And here are 2 questions we presented to the teachers in our survey, and I want you to think about them as well. So if you can find somebody sitting next to you and quickly discuss these 2 questions, I'll give you just a minute. I know it's a lot to discuss in a minute. Will AI and automated translation eventually make learning languages unnecessary? It's a very controversial question, and it's meant to be so. And will AI be able to teach English without the teacher by 2035? I would love to know what you think. Please turn to your partner and have a quick chat about this. You've got a minute. So when we presented teachers with this statement, AI and automated translation will eventually make learning languages unnecessary, you'll see that 60% either disagreed or strongly disagreed. They think, no, language learning will stay necessary. Only about 19% said they agree, but quite a large percentage, 21%, were neutral. They were not sure, which indicates some amount of uncertainty about the relevance of language learning in the face of AI. And for this statement, by 2035, AI will be able to teach English without the teacher, you'll see that over 50% said, nope, I disagree. Teachers will stay relevant.
I disagree.
But again, 26% were neutral. Again, a bit of uncertainty here about the teacher's role, what will it be? And I think that reflects maybe all of our feelings in the room. There is just a bit of uncertainty around these things.
In education.
But the majority thinking, no, teachers will stay relevant. One thing I really wanted to highlight that came out of our study, one of the findings of the systematic review was that AI is possibly impacting ELT more than any other discipline, more than science, more than math. This is what our data tended to show us. If that is the case, then this becomes really important. About 70% or 76% of the teachers in our survey said that they were using AI. Like many of you in the room, in the morning when I started off by polling you, a lot of you, the majority said you have used AI, maybe on a weekly basis. But how many said they had got training on using AI in teaching? Only 20%. So there's a huge gap here. The majority may be using it, but haven't yet received training, they haven't received development, they haven't received guidance on how to use AI in teaching. And there's this comment from an anonymous teacher in our survey. This teacher's saying, I'm just trying to learn as much as I can by myself. And I put this comment here because I feel like it captured a lot of the comments in the survey that had the same kind of thread. I'm doing my best, I'm trying to learn on my own. And I think we can all agree that that's not a satisfactory state of affairs. We need a more concerted effort towards teacher training in this area. It's really, really important. So, now we've looked at some of the benefits. What are some of the challenges of using AI in English language teaching and learning? From the get-go, I'd like to say that the challenges are actually not that well reported in the research literature as the benefits. There's a lot of positive publication bias. About 65 or 67% of publications didn't report any challenges. That's a lot, and there are clearly challenges to AI, so we need a more concerted effort to capture the challenges of using AI in English language teaching and learning. But here is what we found. We found these are the key challenges, and I'll talk about them in more detail in a second. So, technical capabilities and limited capabilities was one of the challenges. When we talk about technical breakdowns, we're really talking about things like wrong answers given by the AI. We know that AI is not always right. It can spit out wrong answers at you, so that was one of the challenges we found. There are technology breakdowns and limited capabilities talked about when users expected more from the AI. They thought it would do more, they wanted more natural interactions with it, but they didn't really get what they expected. Then there's this huge area of ethics when it comes to AI. Bias is present, and bias is present in AI. Now the issue is, as Professor Rodney Jones, he was one of the key witnesses we interviewed. He's a professor at the University of Reading in the UK, and he expressed it as the explainability problem with AI. We know it works, but we can't explain how it works or why it works. And that is the explainability problem. It becomes very difficult to question the output or the result when you can't explain the process of how it got there. There's also some concerns about big tech, big US-based technology companies. We all have their apps on our phones, and the kind of influence that they might exert on classrooms and on teachers. And then finally, there's the need for ethics frameworks and regulation. There are some frameworks out there, but there's a need to maybe review all of these to see whether they fit in English language teaching and learning, or whether we need some specific guidance for teachers teaching English. Then there's the challenge of inclusion. Now we all know that digital divides exist, but there is the potential that if AI is adopted en masse in learning and teaching, then this might make those digital divides even wider. As Dr. Toshiyuki Kanemaru from Japan says, concerns arise that a lack of proficiency in AI-powered tools might widen the gap between learning opportunities. So it's not just about being able to access the tool, it's about knowing how to use it effectively in teaching and learning. One of the very interesting and sort of unique to this report challenges that we found was the standardization of languages. All of us speak different varieties of English. My variety of English is a very particular kind that I acquired growing up. All of you might speak a certain variety of English. Someone from Singapore might speak a different variety of English. And what we found is that AI tends to standardize, and we lose that variety a little bit. AI might actually privilege or foreground some types of varieties of English and exclude others. And English, one of the beautiful things about it, I think, is the variety of ways it's spoken in the world. So in order not to lose that, in order also to make sure that certain groups are not marginalized, that's something we need to be aware of and looking at. And finally, it's not all doom and gloom. Something that emerged from our research is also that AI might have the power to aid accessibility for some. So text-to-speech, for example, for people who are visually impaired, the ability to interact with the spoken word with people who can't otherwise interact with the computer. These are promising things that point to some opportunities in the future. When it comes to assessment, one of the things we found is more research is needed in this area. Obviously, a lot of us are concerned about academic misconduct and cheating, and I heard again and again through this conference and through another conference I was at recently in Delhi about how I'm really concerned about my learners just copying and pasting answers from ChatGPT.
Yes.
This may lead to newer, different, maybe even better assessment tasks, because now the question is, how do we prevent students from doing that? How can we get ahead of them and improve the tasks? And the final thing is that there is a potential with AI use in assessment that we might be able to gather more data, different types of data, emotion AI, which could lead to more surveillance. This is also a serious concern. And as Professor Agnes Kukulska-Hume from the Open University said, even thoughts can be now kind of decoded. That they were 76% said they were using it, only 20% said they had received training in using it. There is a gap in AI literacy, and this is something that we do need to address. There is the relevance for ELT, the fact that AI might be impacting English language teaching and learning more than other disciplines, as I said before. That's an interesting finding. And then there are concerns about AI replacing teachers. One of our interviewees, Dr. Gumawang Jati from Indonesia, put it quite interestingly. He said AI is not replacing the teacher, but replacing the types of tasks that take the teacher away from the students.
Nice.
So, we've talked about the benefits and the challenges. What are the implications for practitioners, for all of us in this room? A few quick takeaways. So the first is that we need a focus on AI literacy. It's a must for teacher training, as ELT is the most common discipline for AI use, potentially. We need to very carefully consider how we choose those AI models and tools, as AI may exclude some language groups and it may benefit others. We need more evidence on whether the learning gains persist. So when I showed you all of those affordances of AI and ELT, I showed you it was speaking, writing, listening, reading, pedagogy, and self-regulation. We know that it can have benefits from the research, but we don't know what happens when you remove those tools, when you take that support away. Do the learning gains persist, or do they go away with the AI tool when you take it away? We need some accessible, unavailable teachers, so we've put our money where our mouth is. And what we've done is, I'm very pleased to say we've produced an AI activities resource for teachers. You can use the QR code to download it. I'm just going to talk about it for a minute. There are a lot of resource packs and activity packs out there. This one is a toolkit for integrating AI activities into classroom instruction and continuing professional development. There are 43 activities organized around 10 areas. And it is aligned to the British Council's Continuing Professional Development Framework for Teachers, which some of you might be familiar with. What I wanted to say about this particular resource pack is we've made a real effort not to just give activities, but to start thinking about how teachers can be responsible in their use of AI and to help teachers with a little bit of information that they need in order to do that. So, if everyone's got the picture now, organized into 10 areas. This is the range of areas. So you have everything from helping learners evaluate AI output to acting as a practice partner, helping teachers plan and assess, creating materials, personalizing them, supporting your own professional development, and providing teachers with useful language as well. And as I said, we really wanted to think about responsible AI use because all the concerns around ethics and bias, safety and privacy concerns came out in our research. So at the start of the pack, we have outlined 6 key principles that are our guiding principles for AI use in English language teaching and learning. So if you're using AI, this is maybe what you need to think about. The first is humans first. Teachers and learners should retain their creativity, their skills, and their agency when using AI. The second is that the privacy and data of teachers and learners must be protected, and their intellectual property. The third is relates to ethics and bias. We need to take a critical and informed approach to understanding and evaluating AI-generated content for teaching and learning. Safety is really, really important, the protection from inappropriate content to ensure that learners, teachers, and their data are safe. Transparency is also really important. So we all need to make it clear when we're using AI, for what purposes, how it's been used, and what it did in the process of producing the output. And finally, accountability and responsibility. So
students are thinking about AI and where its place might be in education. You mentioned chatbots. A lot of educators in Japan are seeking to understand how chatbots may be a good or a bad solution for communication for students. And I'd like to ask you what your professional opinions are about chatbots if they do become a big part of the future.
it's a great question. Thank you so much for that question. Obviously, a lot of this is going to be my opinion. I don't pretend to be an oracle of any sort. I think so. Let's go to the data first. When I talked about what we found from our research, there definitely was a role. Chatbots recurred a lot in some of the data, especially relating to speaking and self-regulation. So we definitely see that they are being used to aid spoken fluency in some cases. They can be effective, that's what the research says. They can also be effective, as it showed us, to reduce learners' anxiety. And to that extent, I think it can be really useful. I'm particularly thinking about countries in which it's not that easy to access a speaker of English. It can give you that extra practice outside of class, the extension. In terms of how actually good they are, in my experience of using them and evaluating them, in some cases I've had to evaluate them, it can be quite patchy. I found that there are some which will respond quite naturally and continue the conversation to a certain extent, but there are some which kind of just get stuck in a circular thing. And then you get frustrated because you're like, what's the matter with you? Like, why aren't you just responding to me properly? So I think there's that thing about being aware of the hype. They don't always, they do have limited capabilities. They can be a really useful tool. Very interestingly, 2 days ago, I received an email from LinkedIn. And I guess they must have read my profile and figured out that I'm a manager of some sort. And they sent me an email showing that they have chatbots for me to practice, not teaching or speaking English, but to give feedback to my managees. So LinkedIn is trying to tell me, oh, if you want to have a difficult conversation, give somebody feedback, practice the end of your review. You can now do it with a LinkedIn chatbot powered presumably by Microsoft. So that was very, very interesting. So I think they're already here in various ways. Definitely useful in some respects. I wouldn't say not to use them. The one caution, one sort of piece of caution additionally I would like to say is, depending on which tool you're using, there are some chatbot tools out there. There's Replica, for example, which was on my slides. Some tools do appropriate other people's identity. Famously, the voice of Scarlett Johansson was used for a chatbot without her consent. You'll see the avatars look like, you can chat with, I don't know, Einstein or whatever. So that's a bit problematic. Have those people given consent? Einstein cannot even give consent because he's not with us anymore.
Right.
That is an issue. So I would say if you are using it with your students, we should also be aware of that. That sometimes it's cool to chat with Einstein, but that person may not have given their consent. Okay, that was a very long answer. Apologies. Long-winded. Right, any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nina, for a very interesting and comprehensive, exhaustive presentation on a very important topic. In your talk, you said that we can use artificial intelligence to teach or to improve,
Yeah.
to use another word, the learner's pronunciation.
Yeah.
Now, my problem is artificial intelligence, for example, pronounces or articulates the word opportunity as opportunity, but the teacher's own accent is very shabby within quotes. So the learner feels confused. Shall I follow my teacher who says opportunity, or shall I follow AI, artificial intelligence, that pronounces the word as opportunity?
Yeah.
So how do you overcome this schizophrenia?
It's a really good question, and I think your question doesn't only relate to AI, it relates to, in general, teaching and learning. And this is one of my favorite topics. Apart from artificial intelligence, I'm also really interested in native speakerism in English language teaching and learning. I've always spoken English. I grew up speaking English. It's my first language, but I am not considered a native speaker of English by the very narrow definition of native speakerism, right? There's definitely, for me, there's a difference between pronunciation and accent. So pronunciation, you can go find it in a dictionary. It'll tell you what the US and UK pronunciations are. It'll tell you where the stress comes in the word, which is exactly your question, which is opportunity or opportunity. Opportunity being the one that is in the dictionary. I think that there is obviously an opportunity for educators to maybe use these tools as well. There may be a case where the teacher's pronunciation differs from the chatbot. I think we need to train our learners to find out the pronunciation in the dictionary. I used to love doing dictionary work when I was a teacher because I felt like I was giving them the power to check without relying on the teacher telling them, because I may say it wrong. Don't listen to me, go look at the dictionary. You can listen in the dictionary as well nowadays. But I do want to stress that it is different from accent. I think there are a variety of accents in the world. My accent is a very strange one from South Mumbai, from a particular type of school, and working and living around British people, and being British myself now. So it's a tricky question. I think correct pronunciation is really important for being understood, and we can use these tools to empower our learners to find the right answers, rather than maybe gatekeeping all the information ourselves. That's my best answer, but it's a great question. Yes, you need to be very careful because we know that they hallucinate, they come up with sources, they might summarize the data in the wrong way. I think I once asked it to summarize our report and it came up with the wrong answer. It wasn't really focusing on the key message. So if you are using it in your work, you should be aware of your university's policies because you don't want to be breaking any rules that are currently in existence. If your university allows you to use it, then I think it's really important. Transparency is one of those 6 guiding principles. So you should be able to say which tool you use. If you use GPT-4o, you should say that. You should say how you used it. So it was used to provide the structuring framework of this essay. If you're using it to write your whole essay, I think your teacher probably knows, to be really honest. It's quite easy to spot completely AI-generated responses. But having said that, will teachers remain relevant? I personally think so. I think that's a really important role for teachers, and I think all the teachers we surveyed, all the experts we talked to also agreed with that. That doesn't mean that the role will not change at all. It might, but I do think they will remain relevant. Yes.
Hello, good morning, ma'am.
Yes.
As a teacher, I have a question. AI can generate the text. AI can dictate the whether it is AI generated text or not. And AI can humanize the text also nowadays. So to what extent we can depend on it as a teacher?
When you say generate the text, do you mean like if you're producing a text to use in class? Or your students' text?
No, sometimes we also can generate the text for the students, for the assistants. Sometimes we can check the students' writing also whether it is AI generated or not.
Yeah.
So to what extent we can depend on AI tools to generate the text, to dictate whether it is AI generated text or not, and also it humanizes also. No?
Yeah, it does. You're right. You're absolutely right. So I'll take the second part of your question first. Can we use AI detectors to check if the student's work is AI generated? They're not entirely reliable. And there are tools online which, if you use an AI detector, a student can generate text using Gen AI, and then they can put it through another tool which humanizes the text. So it's like it obscures the fact that it has been generated by AI. So there's tools on top of tools to get around these things. So my personal opinion is AI detectors, automatic detectors don't work. The best AI detector is you yourself. You know your student. You know sort of the kind of work that they might be able to typically produce. You also know that AI can be used in certain ways. You know whether it's allowed at your university or school or not allowed. In terms of using it as a teacher, what we found from the teacher survey was lots of teachers are using it to generate material for the classroom. If you need a reading text, you can use AI. If you need a listening text, you can use AI. You can give it a scenario. You can say, okay, so-and-so is visiting, I don't know, a restaurant in New Zealand, placing an order, write a short interaction. It'll do that probably pretty well for you. What's encouraging is rather than just the large language models, your tools like ChatGPT, Bing, and so on, there are now tools specific for English language teachers. So there are a couple of tools out there which are specifically made for English language teaching and learning, and having played with those, I personally was really impressed. You could give it a situation, you could give it a CEFR level, you could give it, sort of how long you wanted the response to be, and in a minute, you have a pretty useful, not just the text, but the activities that go with it. So it does have some really useful applications. Unfortunately, the AI plagiarism detectors for students, not so great.
A big change in our university, in our city, in our country, in our world. Climate change topic is important through project-based learning because this addresses socially important skills which are important to their students' own life, multidisciplinary, and they are engaged in collaboration to make these changes. I will discuss about the methodology. The background of the story is, in last rainy season in our campus, students were engaged in cleanliness project where they were asked to clean the drainage area. they were asked to separate plastic materials, plastic bottles, which cause floods in the little area which is the main route to their campus. When students were asked to remove the plastic bottle from the drain, they found that their life is easier because there were lesser water in the area. They find it very easy to come to the campus. So this small step was adopted in the classroom. Students from 4 different departments were selected, from Law, Environmental Science, EEE and BBA. The tenure of the activity was 4 weeks, and at the beginning of the week, they were given a task of because of air pollution, health reason, and little bit of coughing, so you can understand. So at the beginning of the tenor, they were asked to throw plastic bottles, that is water pot, to throw in a particular green color liter bottle and other waste materials in the black one. Okay, so they were asked to do so, and after 2 weeks, they were given a 5 Likert scale where they expressed their opinion, and after 2 weeks, they are asked to write a project. Based on this, they were asked to write an essay on problem solution, where they are asked to write an essay reducing plastic pollution. And after 2 weeks, the green box was removed, and they were asked to throw materials in the black one. And a semi-structured interview was taken to take their opinion, their ideas on this small scale project. Yes, it was found that a large number of students, that is total.
Nandan Kumaran.
Hi.
Hello.
Morning.
Good morning.
All right. So as you see, a little bit about what they introduced. I do a lot of research pertaining pedagogy. Oh my God, the way all of y'all are looking at me, I feel like a star for a while. Okay, anyways, so I do a lot of research pertaining pedagogy in the classroom because I work with the Ministry of Education itself. All right, so why am I not doing the presentation on the reading process is because it is still ongoing. The research is ongoing. But this is something that I did with my students. First and foremost, there is no AI in my classroom.
Nice.
Because in Malaysia, in the classrooms, students are not allowed to bring their handphones. No laptops. All right? And each classroom, we've got about 40 students, and let's say Form 4, which is 16-year-old students, 40 students, and we've got 9 classrooms, and we've got 30 laptops in school. So it's never enough. So technology, it's the teacher who is the technology. Right? So we play the role. But now, what was my main concern in my classroom was writing itself. I hated marking writing. I disliked because it's too many words. The students need to produce 350 words at the age of 16 within 20 minutes. Is that possible? Possible with your students?
Overload twisters.
16-year-old? I mean, there are the good students, but there are the weak students as well. But getting a 16-year-old to produce 350 words within 20 minutes, even I can't. It's so stressful.
Yes.
What else students who can't speak in English, who don't have the proficiency, who don't have the vocabulary? It's very stressful on kids, you know. And I feel that writing is actually a process to enjoy. It's an emotion. So what I did was, I used scaffolding in the writing classroom. What is scaffolding? Scaffolding is just a term I saw online and I felt good about it and I used it to make it sound good. What was it actually? Anyone? Support? Support system? Breaking down of units? If I'm going to enter the class in early morning, yes, exactly, framework. Early morning. Okay, class, good morning. Today, you're going to do an essay about your trip last week. 350 words, 15 minutes. If I was the student, I would feel like banging the teacher's face early in the morning. Like, right, we came out of that system, right? So I needed to take away that anxiety of writing. I needed to make students love writing. All right? Okay, so this scaffolding part, it is to reduce anxiety. That is very important. It is very important that students need to have less anxiety when it's writing process. All right? Flexible for different teaching goals. Now, this process is applicable whether your students have zero proficiency or higher level. It's up to you. It's up to you. It's a very basic, simple process. All right? Now,
Improves
Do you love
vocabulary,
this?
grammar writing.
do you love this?
Sure.
Do you like this?
Yes.
As language teachers, do you like this?
Yes. Vocabulary and grammar writing, yes.
Grammar. Do you like grammar?
What else?
I hate grammar. I hate grammar. I don't like rules. To me, rules are meant to be broken. And then you are teaching me, okay, this is an apple. Why do you use an? Because it comes with basic rules. What are the rules? It's here, it's there, it's everywhere. It's just too much. To me, this is an apple. It sounds good. Yes, it is correct. That's it. Am I right? How many of us do it? Like, why is this sentence, this is an apple? It is because syntactically, it is supposed to be here, subject, verb, agreement. Please, are you going to teach a 16-year-old all this? And where are they going to take these rules to? Where are they going to take all these rules? So, I think it's very important that the teachers break away from the rules first. It is not about the rules. It's not about the syntax, the subject, the verb, the agreement. But it's about the vocabulary. The vocabulary. We are teaching kids who don't speak English at home, where English is not their mother tongue. We've got interference from their mother tongue. Translation. They are translating. They are Google translating here. Am I right? Yeah. The Tamil version or the Malay, it's not subject verb agreement, but it's agreement verb subject. And then it's Google translating here, and in English I get verb subject and agreement somewhere else. So all this made me think a lot. So these were the children's problem that I saw. These are my children. I'm talking about big number of kids that are going to sit for their O-level. Now, what I saw, fear. When I say writing, they fear. What else speaking? Next, lack of confidence. No matter how good you are, there will be a small spot that you still have lack of confidence. Right? And limited vocabulary. So now what did I do? The process. Can you see? Actually, what process is happening
Excavation,
here?
building blocks, laying a foundation,
What's happening here?
scaffolding, constructing, and
What am I doing
finish.
here? Exactly, I'm building a house. I'm building a house. But my focus was
Scaffolding.
scaffolding. Scaffolding, expansion of ideas, semi-independent writing. You got the picture of it?
Yeah.
Alright? Okay. These are the 6 stages. You recall,
Let's recall, let's
Discover,
discover, let's
you learn,
learn,
you replace, you
let's
expand,
replace, let's
you create.
expand, let's Let's create.
Recall what? Recall what? Recall what I taught you yesterday. Vocabulary. And then I discover what? New ideas. Where are the ideas coming from? ChatGPT? No.
From the mind.
No. I'm against ChatGPT. But I will use it for my research. New ideas come from friends. New ideas come from friends. In English? Mother tongue. Is it okay for mother tongue interference in my English classroom? Yes. Yes. It's okay. Learn. They learn together. Replace words. Play with words. Stop telling them write essay. Tell them write sentences. Tell them write phrases. Tell them to come up with words. Alright? Now the best part is the expansion. Okay? And the last, I'm not going to go to create, but expansion. That is the scaffolding process. Now, no, don't take picture of this. Please do not take picture of this. Because this was my stress. This was my stress. I was like, am I supposed to do aggression theory, Swan's theory by Piaget, Bruno, oh my god, so many theories. Then I was like, so many theories, so many ideas. Yeah, I'm talking about 16-year-old kids. Okay, class, today I'm going to talk about Krashen's theory. And on Krashen's theory, we are supposed to do things like this. 16-year-old, Krashen's theory? Nah.
They'll be crashed.
Nah.
Female her.
So every time kids saw me in school, teacher, shall I pee?
Maggot.
Okay, kids, take out your books. It's time to pee. Isn't it a word that is very closely related to them? I mean, to all of us, of course. But yeah, pee. It's just simple. Pee. What is pee? What is pee? I mean, not that real PP, but yeah. So if you're going to walk into your classroom and tell your students, all right, let's pee, do you think they will love you?
No.
They will, because you know why? You made life easier for them.
If they know.
Rather than, all right, let's do an essay today. I hate essay. I wouldn't ask someone to do something that I dislike. You get me? Now, where was this going? It's a very simple concept, you know. I have a ball. It is blue in color. Explain. Give more elaboration. I take my ball to the field. These are 16-year-old kids. Believe me, they can't. I had to start from scratch because I was preparing them for 17-year-old O-level examinations, which was not easy. Is my time up already? No, right? Okay. Now, rather than looking at essay, if your kids can't do the essay, look at paragraph. If the kids can't produce paragraph, go down to sentences. If they can't produce sentences, let them try phrases, words. And lastly, if you have no choice, you need to start with the alphabets. Start somewhere. Something is always better than nothing. Right? Now, what did I see happening in my classroom? That was the initial. Okay, he's giving me the sign that get off from the stage. Okay, what happened initially? Can you see?
My family, my name is.
And then what happened?
Wang Wei. My
And this
pet
was
is
the final outcome. This is just one sample.
My pet is
I've got the entire 17-year-old kids producing. It just differs from their language, sentence structures, and their vocabulary. I don't give them homework. Because if I give them homework, chat is doing the homework. Whatever I can do, I do it in the classroom. Right? They do homework, you want to mark? Nah, I got no time to mark. So I do it in the classroom. And now, these are the performances. If you see the my online examinations, they were scoring pretty well. Because chat was doing the exams. Alright? Now, these were all the reports. I saw, I looked, I experienced, and I produced, which then the ministry recognized and they said, Lashna, stop teaching in schools. Come with us, start teaching the teachers. So that's what I'm with the ministry right now. So, a gentle reminder for me and for all of us as educators. One, look at what they can do. Stop error identifying students' essays. Stop doing that. Grammatically it's wrong, let it be. Let it be. You need to acknowledge kids when they can produce sentences. Rather than saying, oh my God, wrong, wrong, wrong. Let's say, wow, 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 wow. It motivates. It motivates kids to write better. Because they want to impress you. Alright? Next. Stop over-analyzing their errors, is what I said. Very simple concept. I believe that most of us here are married husbands and wives, yeah? Very simple. If today you go out, you buy your wife a fantastic necklace. Buy your wife a fantastic necklace. Go back home, give it to her. Tomorrow morning, breakfast is fantastic. Right? Right?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, because he motivated me to perform better.
Nice.
I mean, cooking. Yeah? So now, coming back to the fact of the scaffolding. Now, scaffold are just temporary. It shouldn't be there forever. It's just a temporary process when teaching of writing, gradually, slowly reduce the scaffold until your students reach independence. When they can write independently, then you can tap your shoulders. Till then, help them, guide them, stop looking at errors. Alright? Alright? Until now, if you want to do research, the first word is definitely the most difficult. And the closure is fantastic. With that, I'd like to say thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vasana Kumar. To read a bio of our speaker, may I request Gopal Prasad Basyal?
It's a lot of experience and refreshing your mind as like me. Okay, so my topic is enhancing English speaking fluency through AI-powered tutors. And the tutor is called the Practica. Okay, so in today's globalized world, so the English fluency stands as a vital skills, facilitating communication, interaction, collaboration, and access to opportunities across borders. So especially the teachers and the learners as a learners, for me, the English is a second foreign language for me. So as a learner of the foreign language, the challenging skill is the speaking all the time. Especially the speaking fluency is the very challenging for most of the learners, EFL learners. So how can we enhance learners' speaking fluency through the AI tutors? And on the very first day of the conference, I heard the great saying from the president of NELTA, Dr. Lakshman. He said that classroom is a theater, and teaching is an art, and the teacher is an actor, but without any director. But sometimes we are tired. We're tired. We need some assistant. We need some helpers. So, why don't we use the AI tutors as our assistant? That's why I decided to hire teacher assistant. Her name is Practica. Okay. So today I am here to introduce my teacher assistant, who is called Practica. The aim of this research is that exploring effectiveness of the AI-powered conversational tutors in English classrooms, especially for improving learners' speaking fluency, as well as its implication for the advancement of language education. Okay, so the reason for the topic area. What do you think about the reason for the topic area? Of course, first of all, we are living in we are working in a field that our learners' important skill must be speaking fluency. So the first reason of the topic area is growing importance of English fluency. Secondly, we are living in a technological advancement era. So we are trying to compete the rapid advancements in AI technology. And the third one is that we have some kind of challenges in language learning, especially our students having challenges with their speaking skills, especially speaking fluency. And the last reason is that relevance to educational innovations. And these are the 4 reasons for the topic area. Okay, so have you ever heard about the conversational tutor Practica before?
No, not yet.
So, what is Practica? Let's introduce. Okay, so the Practica. What is Practica? Let's watch the short video. Okay, so I just asked my assistant. He is my assistant. His name is Dwayne, and I asked him, Dwayne, can you please provide us with a short definition of the Practica language application? Because we have very short time, so because he gave me just 10 minutes. And can you please talk about the Practica in brief? Okay, so let's see how he replied. He's saying that Practica is a language app with AI avatars designed to enhance language learning through engaging conversations. How's that? Of course, that was great, because he's doing his job very well. How? Okay, so first, let's see. In this video, we can see how the Practica works. How does it work? For example, let's see that there are so many avatars we can choose. For example, based on our needs, do you want to learn American English or British English or Australian English? You can choose the avatar. See? And here are the many helpers, many assistants you can choose from this list. And my assistants are 1 male and 1 female. The male assistant is Dwayne, and the female one is Sandra. She is very polite, and she speaks British English, but Dwayne speaks American English, because sometimes I need to distinguish the 2 accents, and because I want to learn the words in 2 different accents. So that's why I have 2 assistants. One is from American English, one speaks British English. Okay, so in this case, so we can just choose the avatars, choose our assistants. And here is you can see the practice zone. In this practice zone, there are plenty of topics in daily conversations, the real life conversations, such as we can choose the free talk, education, job and career, science, technology, literature, healthcare, geography. And the Practica has plenty of topics we can use to improve our students' speaking fluency. Okay, so how does it help for our students to improve their speaking fluency? Okay, so let's see. And Sandra is going to correct my mistake. I just said, she just explaining that it's better to say it's making me feel bad. We don't say it's making me false, but instead you should say it's making me feel bad. And also there are some explanations. I hope that you can see the explanations. And then
It's
for
not clear.
every part of the mistake that students made, and then avatars are available. They are capable of correcting the student's mistake and giving a good hints and giving a good ideas, and also they are able to provide students with the useful expressions and phrases based on the context. That's very important because sometimes our learners, our students are
Look
just
at us.
not
She's
willing to
blinking right.
speak because they just think about the expressions or grammars or phrases, but using the practica, I hope that this problem will be solved. Okay, so next. And to conduct this research, I had two groups, the experimental group and the control group. In our experimental group, so I just had two tests, pre-test and post-test of the speaking fluency. And the assessment, also there are assessment criteria for each test. The assessment criteria includes the fluency, pronunciation, grammar and vocabulary, and coherence. These are the very important parts of this speaking fluency. And also, we had some kind of speaking fluency activities, tasks. And I chose the 5 tasks, we chose the 5 tasks, and each task has its own feature of the fluency. For example, you can see that first task is a very simple conversation about the introduction and personal information. And in this task, which fluency can be developed? Which fluency can be improved? Flow of speech and ability to respond without long pauses. And the second task includes the logical flow of ideas. For the third task,
Markova Elena from Russia.
Good afternoon, my dear colleagues. I appreciate my invitation here and my gratitude to the organizers, to NELTA, its president, NELTA's members, and the country, Nepal, who are very hospitable. And today it's my pleasure to discuss some questions with you. So I may start. It's a short of time because I try to be very quick. That is, we are first, our organization, that is like NELTA here, we have NATE in our Russia. This is the same organization type. And our university, you can see it's on the slide, a National University of Higher Schools of Economics. It is the first to present here in Nepal. So welcome if you are interested in some aspects of cooperation. Well, so this is my topic. And why reading? You see, the topic is using metacognitive strategies for enhancing reading skills. Yesterday, we watched and listened to some brilliant presentations, and the speakers spoke about some skills that are very necessary for today's and modern students. They are logical thinking and critical thinking. And one of the teachers presented there, I'm not sure, he is not a teacher, he's the prior representatives to United Nations from Nepal. And he spoke that the aim of the teacher is not to teach grammar and vocabulary, but to teach them how to learn. And that is metacognitive skills. Metacognitive skills is how to learn. You see? And why I have chosen reading. We worked with our students. I teach them foreign language methodology. So I teach future teachers, they are master level, how to teach a foreign language. And we discuss everything with them, different skills, reading, writing, and so on and so forth. And we launched our project on developing cognitive and metacognitive skills with the students. We made experiments and see the results. But why I have chosen reading today? Some of my students, I've got many students from abroad, from different countries, and when they ask me to be a supervisor of their diploma papers, I ask them, I advise them, look through the educational environment, educational field in your country, because you will come back to your country and you need to help your educational system, to help your teachers and students, and look through the environment and see what is the problem, where is the problem. And one of them prepared a research, analytical research of the examinations in some of the countries. And the problem point was reading. Then I asked some of other students, asked them to look through the examination results, to the analysis of these exams, and see what is the problem. Then I looked through our exam. We have also a national exam in English. After finishing schools, all our school children have the exam. And what appears? That this year reading is not very good. For example, if we say about the analytical, about the statistics, the average percentage, that is, no, it's in our country, in Russia. The cognitive skills, the results are that metacognitive skills are deeply tied with the academic achievement. And even the students with their mental abilities higher and brilliant, if they don't have well-developed metacognitive skills, they fail. And that is very important. So, look at the results. What we have analyzed in 5 countries, and our Russia as well. What is not in reading? So you see, the candidates that are students, they copied questions without giving answers. They give incomplete responses to the questions. They did not understand the question and give the right answer, and they can't. Copied whole chunks or lengthy sentences from the passages as answers. You see, copied unnecessary portions of the passages. Poor performance was caused by misinterpretation of questions. They don't understand the question, the essence of it. So that's not mean that they don't learn the words, they don't know the words. They can't interpret, they can't understand it. Then they present irrelevant information from them. Then they pick individual words and phrases and copy this passage and give it as an answer that is not correct. They ignoring the context which help them to interpret the meaning of the words. They can't understand the general. Oh, no, not recommend, but they see the difference and they underline it. That our students, maybe school children or students, they lose interest in reading because of the widely spread distribution of audio and ebooks. They can find anything, and during this class, then enrich vocabulary through extensive reading and carefully read and fully understand the questions before attempting them. Because they pick up words and think that these are the questions. So, what is to do?
Might be mistaken. Okay? So, appropriate eye contact should be there.
Possessive eye contact.
Yes?
Possessive
eye contact. Okay. But be careful, especially young teachers. Okay? While contracting eye. Okay, now, gestures and movement. This is also initial part of the teaching, initial part that should be paid attention to in the classroom. Teacher gestures and movement is important because while taking class, we have experience while preparing this presentation. Some teachers are just passive, they're standing at one place. Then such teachers, I think, can't take the class effectively. So, movement must be maintained in the classroom. Now the next, pronunciation. When we talk about pronunciation, we are not native speakers, but our pronunciation must be or should be intelligible to the students. For example, one word is there, the pronounce, tortoise. T-O-R-T-O-I, they say tortoise. But actually that is tortoise.
Tortoise.
So we have to pay attention to such very type of.
Which topic do you think I am going to deal with today? These are the essay sections, class 11, 5 essays. I hope you understand my concept. When I start a lesson, let's say example 1 day lesson, I play a video, and now you guess what topic in the essay section I am going to start.
How to live before you die? How to live before you die? Yes, by Steve Jobs.
Okay, from our side, what is your
Let's get it.
Okay, what's forwarding? Okay. Yes. That video can be related to the second one, mostly.
Yes.
It can be related to what we require from the life. It talks about the I can be rich, promises, and the poverty is also there. No? It talks about poverty. So for teaching any 3 topics, is essay number 2, 3, 4. I can play that video. That's one example, one stance. Please.
We know what reading is. It's not only quickly reading of the text, it's comprehending it. So extracting key information, this is cognitive skills which we should develop in our students. And when one of the speakers before me presented, the first plan was planning. So we divided in our experimental work, we divided all these metacognitive stages of developing skills into the first one, planning, how to plan, what to do. Then it was monitoring.
Allow to use the name of the books or not, like Muna Madan for grade 5 students, Judy Blaine, the story of grade 4, after that the Good Dinosaur, the Peppa Pig, Massa and Bear. So such books, and it's good to introduce here or not.
And similarly, as we started, we initiated school education development plan. As you know, Constitution of Nepal is the major policy document for education policies as well. In many different provisions, Constitution of Nepal has provisioned many different ideas, many different rights of the people of the country. It talks about compulsory and free education up to basic level. It talks about free education up to secondary level. It talks about scholarships to the Dalit children, as well as it talks about ECED to preschool children, education for women. Many different provisions are there. Similarly, we do have Education Act 1971. It talks about quality education with 4 different objectives. It talks about many different ideas, many different provisions of education, school education. We also do have National Education Policy 2019, which talks about ECED to higher education, university education as well. Nowadays, we have been implementing SDG for Education 2030 Nepal National Act Framework 2019, midterm review of which has already been taken place in 2023. Recently, we have been implementing school education sector plan. This is the 10-year strategic plan, and 5 years costed plan is being implemented right now. This is the 3rd year of the implementation. The major objectives of these initiatives, what initiatives we have implemented, we have initiated, the major objectives of all the initiatives from BPEP second to SESP, they are only 3. If you confine them, if you concise them, they are only 3. But we have elaborated in many different points. But basically, the objectives of those initiatives are access and equity, quality and relevance, capacity building for effective delivery. Since the BPEP second to SESP, we have focused on these 3 different objectives for school education. The brief history already shows that